Hello, and welcome to the StandPoint. And if you remember, the whole month of May, we celebrated motherhood. We talked about everything concerning, in fact, most things concerning motherhood. Today, we are going to look at another angle of motherhood. Adoption. Adopting a child legally. Not the one we say that, oh, she's my daughter, she's my sister's, daughter, my sister's son, my cousin's, no. Legally adopting a child and making him or her your own. The fears, the pains, and the joys of adoption. I have one bold woman here I am so proud of, because we have indeed tried to talk about this for so many years now, but people are afraid for whatever reason to come out. So we are grateful that we are going to learn something about having an adopted child. My name is Gifty, and welcome to the StandPoint. And let me say thank you to GTP for my cloth Ophelia Crossland design sews for me, and my jewelry today by Core Accessories, Core Designs. They are now near Trade Fair at La. Thank you to Paba Cosmetics for the makeup product and Makeup and More who apply the makeup for us. I'm so grateful to them. We take a break. When we come back, the fears, the pains, and the joys of adoption. We'll be back. Okay, welcome back to the StandPoint. If you just joined us, today we are talking about the fears, the pains, and the joys of adoption. Adopting a child. Adopting a child. Let me say thank you to our sponsors. African Women's Development Fund, AWDF, supporting African women's rights organizations across Africa for many years now. Tinatet Herbal, they produce Tinatet, Venicare, and Tomacare. If you want any herbal-based medicine, look for the one with the Tinatet logo endorsement on it. Well, Goyle, Yaya Dia, Anhunepa and Kasa. Goyle, good energy. Ghana oil, made in Ghana, produced in Ghana, sold in Ghana, managed by Ghanaians, and is the best to go for. Everything Ghanaian is the best for me in the world. Well, I also say thank you to NS Chemists. They produce Auntie Mary's Baby Gripe Mixture. They also produce Nescafe Black Tonic, very good for good energy to sustain you throughout the day, throughout the weeks and months to come. Thank you to Wilma Africa. Wilma Africa produces Fritol cooking oil, good old Fritol. We've been using it over the years and it's never failed us. They also produce Fortune rice. Fortune rice comes in 3 types. When I talk about the types, you identify it by the packaging. The green packaged one is very good for the soft dishes, omutu, rice water. The orange one is very good for wache. And then the wine packaged one is good for jollof rice and fried rice and all the nice coconut rice or whatever special rice you want to prepare for your loved one. That's what you go for. Now, the fears, the pains, and the joys of adoption. It's a topic most people don't want to talk about it. That's why I'm so happy that my guest today is willing and very happy to talk about her experience. I have with me in the studio the one and only beautiful Rabi Brima. She's a corporate executive. Welcome to the StandPoint.
Thank you very much, Gifty. I'm very happy to be here.
I'm excited to have you.
I'm excited to be here too.
You're a corporate executive, a professional.
Yes.
And you want to talk about adopting a child.
Yes. I mean, first of all, I didn't think there was an issue. I really didn't think right from the beginning, until I was called for one interview on radio, and I mentioned to a couple of people that I'm going to talk about this on radio, and they were like, why would you want to do that? That was when I realized that there must be a problem.
Are you serious?
Before then,
I mean, when you decided to go and adopt, you didn't know that people didn't want to talk about it. People saw it as a taboo, a stigma, and all that.
Okay. So before I had the adoption, well, I didn't see it as such a big deal, really. Okay. Honestly, I didn't. I knew that people had their issues with it, like they have their issues with many other things. But I didn't see it as such a big deal. I think that's the best. I didn't see it as such a big deal. So I remember when I had the adoption, I just waited for the legal process to be over. And I used to host a program on radio. And I couldn't wait to share it. And I shared it. And I remember when I actually was called by social welfare that the baby was ready. I was at work. I screamed. I told everybody at work, in my office, that I have a baby, I have a baby, yes. And later I realized from the looks on some faces that they might think this lady is weird, you know, but I didn't really see it that way, probably because of my mindset. Probably because it's not as if it was a sudden thought. It's something that I've had for a very long time.
So why did you decide to adopt a child?
Okay, so I've always had adoption in mind. Started very early, probably in my teen years. In fact, it was after I adopted that, should I call her our helper? But she's been with us for so many years. She's family now. Yeah. She reminded me that, do I remember that I used to say that I'll get married, have 2 children, and then adopt 2 children? And I said, yes, I remember. But I didn't realize that I'd shared it with her so much that she remembered. Yes. So it's way back then. I always felt that it was the God thing to do. I felt that every child deserves a home, you know, and because culturally you have to get married and have a child. That was also that kind of thinking I had in mind. So I knew I would get married, have my 2 children, and adopt 2 children who would be part of the family, and like they would be without the segregation that the adopted children. So it's always been there. You know, so that was the plan. You want to meet that person, get married, all of that, and then have your children. But as I went along, I realized that people would say, there's this saying, man proposes, God disposes. I'm not too sure I believe in that. No. But basically, it's just to say that you could have all your dreams and your thoughts and stuff like that, but it doesn't really always turn out that way. And that was my situation. It didn't turn out that way. And I got to the point where I felt that, for goodness sake, what am I waiting for? I don't have siblings. I'm the only child. Okay. Lost my mom as well, so I live with my dad. It's basically me and my dad. So you can imagine that kind of a life. You have a good job. Yes. You are doing averagely well. Yes. Yeah. So you can afford to take care of a child. Exactly. And what are you doing not taking care of a child? You know, and then I used to say that anybody who is childless and doesn't want to be childless does not need to be childless. I get you. Because it's not just about having biological children. No. You know, so that has been my thinking. And that's really what led me to this. Yeah. So when I got to that point, that was about 3 years ago, I just said that, you know what, I think I'm ready for this. I've heard about the process in Ghana. It takes so long and all of that. I don't know how to go about it. But I just mentioned to a friend that I want to do this thing this year, but I hear it's so long. And he said, no, we've done it for a niece of mine who lives abroad before. It's not that bad. I'll send somebody to pick the form for you. So he sent somebody to pick me the forms from social welfare. And I remember I put the forms on the side of my laptop bag. And I left it. I knew I would do it sometime, you know. Okay. And you wouldn't believe it, but just about 3 weeks after that, I get a call from my cousin, who, she's a child advocate as well, and she knows quite a few people. She calls me to say, and I had said that I wanted a girl anyway. Okay. So that was what I had said. So she calls me to say that, oh, Rabbi, someone just called me that a baby has been abandoned close to a certain hospital. And they would love for somebody to, you know, take up this baby because it's a lovely baby, and they are struggling with getting food and stuff like that for the baby. And I said, okay, a baby boy, I don't know, but you go and look at the baby boy. And since you have 2 children, come and tell me what you think. Yeah. You know, so she goes to look at the baby and she calls me and says that, oh, Rabbi, I think it's a lovely baby, so, and they need some money, they need some milk and stuff like that. And I said, please, go ahead. I'll pay for it. But I'm busy at work this week, so I'll make time and then go and see the baby as well. So I made time to go and see the baby. I was alone with my cousin. I saw the baby lying there. I didn't get the chance to hold the baby for whatever reason that day. Anyway, so I saw the baby, still took some items, clothes and stuff, and then went away. Then I told a very, very good friend of mine at work, I said to her, I want you to go with me to see this baby again and give me your honest opinion. Whatever you say, I'll go with. So I went with her. Fortunately, that day, I got to hold the baby. And Gifty, the moment I held the baby, it was like, that was God saying that, Rabbi, this is your baby. Something just clicked. And I'm not used to newborn babies. I don't know anything much about them, but something just clicked that day, and I fell in love with the baby. Quickly did I take my forms. I needed to get my doctor to complete his portion. I needed to do my police report. I did everything. Then I took to social welfare. And then I had to, put pressure on them to, because some of these things can be very slow. There's a lot to be worked out in that system, but that's another story for another day. But got things done, got help from people to get that process completed for me. And so I was there when they called me. In fact, I thought I was going to come later, much later than then. But not too long after, they called me to say that it was a Friday. And they called me on that Friday to say, Rabbi, you can pick up the baby on Monday. So that was the Friday that I was screaming at work. But then after the call, I just realized that, okay, I don't have anything.
Am I ready for this baby?
Yes. Am I ready in terms of the
preparation?
Stuff? Yeah,
yes.
Because nothing. I wasn't ready at all.
Yeah.
Plus, I had already scheduled a travel, which was going to come up in the next 2 weeks. So what do I do? Because I don't have anybody to take care of the baby. And this is not the time for me to say no. So I had to work all of that out. And then after that as well, what happens to you in terms of work? Because at the time they were giving me the baby was 19 days old. So you have to make plans to take care of the baby. How do I handle that? That Friday night, I went to sleep. I prayed, of course, I prayed. And I said, wow, God, you need to help me sort out something. And then I remembered that there was a lady I had met during our radio program. And she was very interested in children. She had started a children's something at home. And I thought, maybe she would help me for the time that I was going to be away for 2 weeks. She probably will help me. So I called her Saturday morning, very early in the morning. And I told her about this. And she was like, wow, Rabbi. She said something to the effect that she had had a dream that something like this was going to be happening. And she was ready. She was going to do it. And she was going to go with me to pick up the baby because I had to pick up the baby for Musu children too. She'd go with me to pick up the baby. And the plan was that I didn't want to have the baby to have to move so many times. So the plan was that she would have the baby so that after 3 weeks, when I'm done and everything, I pick the baby. But in the meantime, whilst I was going to be in Ghana, I was going to see them every day. So that was the plan. I picked my baby up on the Monday. Few friends and family were with us. We did our stuff, took pictures. I was super excited. Because that day, after I was with children's home, I was going back to work. So I was dressed in a certain way to pick up my baby. And after all the fun, I went back to work. And the excitement continued. Everybody, I had my name for my baby. And I was just telling them the name of the baby, just like that. I was that excited about it. Okay, so some people thought it was weird. But I realized that it gave hope to other people in there. Because there are people who had been married for years who haven't had children. And maybe they had never thought of adoption. Or they thought it was because, again, of our culture. It's something that people frown upon or something like that.
Because, Rabbi, let me take a break and come. Because, normally what some people do is they'll go and hide. They will go into hibernation or whatever it is for everybody to think that maybe they are pregnant or whatever it is, and then suddenly surface with a baby, all because they don't want people to know that they adopted the baby. Yeah. Let me take a break. When we come back, and I can see you are happy.
I am throughout,
happy. You know, the excitement on your face and everything. While you're watching the StandPoint, remember this program is also aired on ABN TV on Sky Channel 235, which is across Western Europe, parts of Canada and Asia. Our website, www.thestandpoint.com.gh, is powered by Dream Oval. Thank you to Matamis for the port. Gogot Yogurt supplies the yogurt for us. And thank you to Yep Cleaning Services for always keeping our environment clean. Whatever program you're having, if you need them to come and clean your house, hey, I'll recommend Yep anytime, any day. Thank you to Auntie Vera. Auntie Vera, thank you so much to House of Foods for helping us out every time we need you. Thank you to Cake Technique for also supplying us with our, you know, small, as we call it in Ghana, small chops. We'll be back. Okay, then welcome back. Wow, what a story. I mean, Rabbi is making, you know, adoption so iconic. So iconic, but let me say thank you to DTP for my cloth Ophelia Crossland Designs sews for me. My accessories by Kwa Designs, they are our trade fair, near the trade fair at La. Thank you to Paba Cosmetics for the makeup products and Makeup and More for applying the makeup for us. But Rabbi, you said you didn't think about what people will say and all that. But I'm just wondering, after adopting this child, what did your family say?
Maybe I'm fortunate enough to have a family that is probably too small to interfere in my activities.
Right.
It's not such a large family for certain reasons, you know, and even if they have such feelings about this, they might not tell me, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So, for example, when I didn't need permission to adopt. I just needed to tell my daddy, for example. He wasn't overly excited about it for obvious reasons. I'm his only child, you know, so it would be fantastic for him to have his own offspring, you know, so I could understand him. But you see, I'm not growing any younger, and it's not under my control. What do I do? But I want a child. I want to take care of a child. Yeah. I want that.
And adopting doesn't mean that you can't have a child of your own later in life.
Absolutely. Adopting does not cut everything. Doesn't mean I won't get married. I could get married. Yeah. You know, I could get married. I could have my child as well. Yeah. Or not. But life goes on. Yeah. And I need to be happy. And I realize that my happiness depends on me, not on anybody else. Because Gifty, you see people carrying on with their lives. At the end of the day, you're in your home. Yeah. Only you know what goes on with you. So if you're going to listen to what people say.
And only God knows what goes on in those people's homes.
Absolutely. So, you know, but I just told my daddy, unfortunately for me, he didn't say no, even though he wasn't that excited about it. He was okay with it, and I went on with the process and everything before I told him. In fact, after my baby came, and I had gone through with the legal process because I wanted to make sure that that was done. Right. I'd gone to the legal process. I outdoored my baby. I had a party. I had an outdooring, Rabbi A4. You know? Rabbi A4, now I say outdooring. And I invited the few people I felt, you know, needed to be there. Yeah. It wasn't a big thing. It wasn't a small thing either. I mean, there were people who care about you, who need to know. This baby is going to be with Rabbit, so you might as well accept the baby. Love me, love my dog, isn't it?
Thank you.
Okay?
If you don't want to be part of it, see you later.
Yeah. So I told some people, people in the family that I know that my father really, really respects. Right. And he didn't tell them. I had to go and tell them. So I told the first one, my auntie, she was excited about it. And she was like, hey, do you know that my daughter also adopted? And I said, oh, that's interesting. My daddy doesn't know this. Nobody knows this. And then I went to the other uncle. Oh, lovely man as well. I told him, he said, oh yes, my daughter adopted, but you are even lucky you had a younger one. I mean, she didn't get to, because she lives abroad, so hers was much older. And I said, okay, this is interesting. So this is not new.
New.
And then when I told my daddy about it, that changed everything.
Because he knows that it's not only my daughter who's going to adopt.
That changed
and it's
everything.
Not strange.
He became more embracing and everything. It simply changed.
You know, Rabbi, let me read this. I mean, by God's way, I have so many daughters and sons, and some are mentor, and some of them I haven't seen before, but they talk to me and they confide in me. And one, you know, daughter of mine sent me this message some time ago, and she doesn't mind me sharing. She's Franny. Franny says, my story. When I was 14, I was diagnosed with polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS. I was told conception will be a problem, but I was 14 and didn't care. Fast forward, years after I got married, and my husband and I decided we wanted a child. We started family treatment, did 3 IUI and 2 IVFs, all of which yielded no result and were financially draining. I adopted a little girl. She's very adorable. I usually don't hang out with much Ghanaians here in the States. The few friends I have now are friends I have known from Ghana or those I met here while in school. One would think that with the level of civilization in the US, people will embrace the adoption. Unfortunately, this wasn't so. My friends won't invite me to baby shower or christening just because I had no child of my own. One of my very close friends told me she couldn't extend Mother's Day wishes to me because I was childless. This happened last year. I was so hurt by that comment because she knew that I had an adopted daughter. So I decided to try the IVF again. This time it worked. And your grandson was born 9 months later. Now people invite me to events, shaking my head. Mommy, I can't believe the level of illiteracy of people who claim to have been to school before.
Absolutely. She summed it up. It's the level of illiteracy. That is what it is, educated illiterates. And you see, I won't be surprised if it's still her circle of friends who are Ghanaian.
Yes, yes, she said this.
So they're Ghanaians. And even though they're in an advanced culture, they still hold on to their culture. Because, Gifty, if you read about adoption in the UK and in the US, it's a treasured thing. Yeah. People stand in line openly. People share testimonies about finally finding a child. You know? So I am surprised that you move yourself from this culture into a higher culture and you don't embrace the good from that culture. You know, then how can we progress even in this culture? Because I remember, you know, I told somebody, a cousin of mine, when I adopted, and she said, why can't you, she said, how did she put it? But why can't you have your own child? Or why can't you marry and have your own child? And it's not like this cousin doesn't know my age and doesn't know how long I've been waiting to get married. I mean, it's not like I had put myself out there that I don't want to get married. This cousin knew that I was the only... No,
she knew, but she meant get any man and...
Yes, marry, and just get
married. Have a child.
Yes.
Get any man.
And she said it so, it was like with disdain, you know, that why would you want to do that? Somebody else, an elderly person, said to me that, normally adopted children don't turn out well.
Says who?
Yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, so I've seen a lot of children, biological children, with parents who have a lot of money, who don't turn out well.
Thank you very much.
I've seen that. Any argument you can use against, or you would want to use against adopted children, would normally occur with biological children as well.
Rabbi, let me ask you, did you adopt out of desperation?
I didn't adopt out of desperation.
Or out of void, that you are desperate, you had a void you wanted to fill. That's why you adopted.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, I had always wanted to adopt. but I wanted it to follow a particular pattern, and that wasn't happening. So then it was time to do it. So it wasn't out of desperation. You see, I don't know how to put it. I felt it was the time, yes. But I love children. I've done a lot of things with children. I did Sunday school. I started a playhouse for children and all of that. I love children. Those who know me will attest to the fact. Yes, there was that void in my life, Gifty. I needed to have a child or children at home.
Yeah.
I needed to, you know, be able to make a difference in a child's life directly. I wanted a child that I would call my own, because you see, if it's for my sibling or my cousin or whatever it is, it's still not my child, Gifty. And I remember when I went to social welfare, some of the social workers were talking to me about some of the experiences. People had come there, they had spent years taking care of their nieces and nephews, and then suddenly something happens. Then they realize that, wow, I need to rethink. I need to have my own. You know, so that's it. You get the negative things. And you know what? An elderly person called me, some big man in some organization, and said he wanted to refer someone to me. The person is interested in adopting. And because they know my story, if I'm okay to talk to them, I said, any day. I'm ready to talk to anybody any day, so let this woman. So this woman comes, and I realize that she's quite probably, should I say, advanced in age, probably in her early 50s. Okay. And I was very excited that somebody wants to adopt, and you know, I can be there to give them that support and encouragement. But I realized that her story was different. What you were talking about earlier, she said that she wants to adopt. Already she looks a bit big, and at the office, they think she's pregnant. So what she's doing, she's spoken to some people who can help her with a baby. And I said, okay, so are you getting this baby like legally? She said, yes. But they said that I should meet them at dawn. They'll give me the baby, because my plan is that, and I've planned it with a doctor. The doctor will give me the, what do you call it? Is it the excuse duty that I'm pregnant? And then I've had a baby. And I'm going to go away. And when I come back, I'll come with the baby. So they're going to give me the baby at dawn so that I can go away with the baby at dawn and then, you know, come back later to say that I've had the baby. So this is what I want to do and all of that. And I said, okay. Then I don't understand why you have come to see me. But then that tells you, because of the culture. She wants to do it so badly, but she wants to hide and do it. But I don't want to hide and do it, because I want to walk a free person. I want to, and again, I want to encourage people to adopt Gifty, because even after doing it, it's such a wonderful experience. When I had this baby, we called the baby Google baby, like in the beginning, because apart from the few times that I could call other people to just find out what to do, I'd have to Google everything, basically. You know, even to bath the baby in the initial days, I would just Google and, you know, look at some ways of doing it. Yeah. So it was so exciting learning the new thing, and then seeing this baby grow, calling you mama, and loving you so much.
Let me tell you, I'll come back to ask you how it has changed your mind, because the way you are going, I see that when this baby gets to 5, 6 years, you may think about adopting another one. I suspect you. While you're watching The Standpoint, let me say thank you to Auntie Vera of House of Food for supporting us all these years. We are so grateful to you. Cake Techniques, hey, what can I say? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for supporting, you know, the Standpoint. Matamis gives us the pod. Yep, cleaning services cleans our environment for us. And Gogot Yogurt, always at hand to help us. We are so, so grateful. We take a break. When we come back, we'll continue this discussion. Welcome back to The Standpoint. The Standpoint is sponsored by African Women's Development Fund, AWDF, Tinated Herbal. They produce Tinated Venicare and Tomacare. And Nest Chemist produce Auntie Mary's Baby Gripe Mixture and Nescafe Black Tonic. Goil, yeah, dear, and when enkasa, Goil, good energy. Wilma Africa Limited, manufacturers of Frital cooking oil, and Fortune Rice. Fortune Rice comes in 3 types. Green packaged one for the soft dishes, omutuo and rice water. The orange packaged one, very good for wachi. And then the wine packaged one, very good for jollof rice and then fried rice. You cannot go wrong. Just go for it and try it. And yes, Gifty tells you that it works, and it always works all the time. We are talking to Rabbi Brima, sharing her experience about adopting a child. Rabbi,
yes, Gifty.
Would you say that that void has been filled since your baby came home? Now, he's not a baby, he's a young man.
Yeah, he's turning 3 next month.
Wabaso.
So yes, that void, if there was a void for that, it's been filled. Why do I say that? Because some of the things I used to worry about, I don't worry about anymore, Gifty. Some of the things I used to spend time, hours praying about, I don't do anymore. Not because I don't want them anymore, but because I've left it to God in His own timing. So there's a lot on my plate right now. I have a human being I'm responsible for, you know, and that takes a lot of my thoughts and my time and everything. So yes, to that extent, yes.
But have you thought about the fact that there will come a day that you will have to tell him?
Oh, I have thought about it. I thought about it before I had him. See, because Gifty, I'd read a lot about adoption. I know what I have to do. So in terms of telling the child, I will be the first to tell the child before anybody tells the child.
At what age are you looking at telling him?
As soon as he's able to understand. So what I know that you should do with adoption is as early as 3, because now we do some reading. And I know it's not much that he will comprehend from the reading, but he sees some pictures, he knows some things. You know, so I've got these age-appropriate adoption books. They are there, they are available. So they tell stories about adoption, how families are made, the fact that not all families are blood-related and all of that. And they've done it for children. So those ones are there. So we will start reading those books. Right. And he's going to be understanding them. And the word adoption is going to be very, very common in my home. And it's going to come with a lot of positive vibes.
Right.
You understand? So that even when he hears it, he knows. So, as I've said, I'll be the first to tell him. And I pray that I'll be the first to make him understand it. Because it will come up.
How has your family and friends, you know, how have they accepted him?
Yeah, I think that family and friends, the ones close to me, so far it's good. Unless, of course, it's behind my back. Unless, of course, they are pretending.
Right.
But so far, especially after the outdooring, I'm sure they realize that this girl is not playing.
No,
and they realize that. So I think that people don't even have the courage to say anything. They've seen that, nah. So my family and friends, I think it's also the way you handle the whole thing. Because everybody is so accepting of it. I mean, they love my little boy because he's also a very lovable boy. My friends love him. Friends, genuine friends would call and just check on him and stuff like that. They know. People know that I am a mother. People know that he is my son. He's only my adopted son for such purposes. But afterwards, he is my son.
Yeah.
And they've accepted him like that. People know. At work, I mean, people know that. If I have to take a day off because we have to go to the hospital, it's accepted. It's very, very normal. You know.
Rabbi, in conclusion, what do you want to say to Ghanaians out there with all these misconceptions and negative perceptions about adoption and putting fear and stigmatizing people?
I just would want to say that adoption is a God thing. And for that family out there, that couple out there, that single person out there, who has thought of adoption, and it's something you really want to do. And I know people have spoken to me and they've asked me this question of, how has your family accepted it? How has you? I mean, I think it's their greatest fear. I just want to say to them that it's your life. Think about you first, and then find a way of bringing the other people on board if it's something you really want to do. If somebody is going to discourage you from doing this, you need to really, really think again about that person. Because adoption is a good thing. It's a wonderful opportunity for both parties. For you, the mother the mother or the family, the couple going to adopt, and for the child as well. So you're bringing that child into a home. You're giving that child a wonderful opportunity at being part of a home, a family. And for you, you're giving yourself that wonderful opportunity of sowing into a child, of giving somebody a family, of calling yourself a mother. It is so fulfilling. So the decision is yours. And it happens in Ghana. Loads of people have adopted. I didn't even know that. Yeah. A lot of people have adopted. They just won't talk about it. People adopt. People travel for some time and come back. It's, again, their choice. That's fine. People handle things differently. And that's the way they want to handle it. But if you are not able to do all of that, you can do it like I did it. I adopted. Everybody in my organization knew that I adopted.
You had an outdoor.
I had an outdoor.
I just love you, Robbie. I just love you.
Yes. So can be done. My son is adorable. Yeah. He is. I look at him every day, Gifty, literally. Every day, I look at him and I thank God every day for him. You know, and it's a good thing.
God bless you. You know, God richly bless you, because everything you've done, the letting everybody know, the adoring, the naming ceremony, everything proves that this is a child who is wanted, who is loved, who is accepted, who is being protected, who is going to be, you know, cherished. Yes. And I'm sure when he grows up, he sees all these pictures. I mean, no matter what anybody says, you know, he's not going to be moved. He's not going, because he knows that I am, you know, my mother's son.
And Gifty, we have a story book. We have a journey book. You know, I bought that book when I traveled. So, like year 1, things that have happened, milestones. We have our pictures and all of that. He's going to grow up and see it. So no matter what anybody out there tells my son, he's going to have his own book at home, and he knows that mommy absolutely loves him. So you can call him whatever. You can call him Shaggy. I was watching one of your programs. Somebody was called Shaggy because you can call him any name. But he sees that book and he knows that I am so loved. And nothing anybody says will change. And he's going to grow up to become an advocate for adoptions.
That boy is in trouble. Mommy already has, you know, agenda for him. Well, we'll be back with a bit of me. You know, I have lots of daughters and, you know, sons who are not legally adopted. But sometimes, honestly, I forget that they are not my biological children. Sometimes I get on them and I get upset with them, and, you know, or I try to direct them in a certain way as if they are biological children. I forget. There's absolutely nothing wrong with adoption. Adoption is just making it legal and claiming someone to be your own, loving that person. We are such peace-loving hypocrites as Ghanaians. I mean, when would we be normal human beings and accept what it is and work with what we have? My dear sister, my dear brother watching me, please, enough. Enough of listening to people. Enough of following the negative advice of people. Do what you think is right. Do what you know is right. If you know it is adoption that will bring you the joy, go ahead and adopt. You can take care of the child. Why not? God works in mysterious ways. The ways of God, we can never understand. Why he does certain things in our lives, we may never understand. Unless one day when we stand before him, and then we'll get the answers. Well, as always, I tell you, my name is Gifty, and I have super crazy faith in God. I am here by grace. Thanks for watching. See you same time next week. Bye for now.